What's up, gentlemen? Welcome to the Dogger Pass podcast brought to you by the Mayo Media Network on Madlab. We have had a run of good cards. I am saying that because I'm actually shocked how the consistency of these cards are getting better and better and better. I mean, mind you, the last week's card, there was a little bit of a drought with some of the fights. Could have taken them. Once I start getting up and I'm fucking snacking and I'm doing all these things, like walking around the house, I'm tilting my TV so I could do other things as I'm watching. That's how you know I'm started fading into black a little bit. But for the most part, I got to be honest with you, week after week, you're getting some fights at least on the card that are extremely exciting. And we had that again last week. A couple things I do want to do a little bit of spring cleaning. I want to go over my wagers to be completely transparent about last week. We had a really good week again. So I will always tell you whether they're good or bad, but fortunately for us, we've been having good weeks in boxing and in MMA. We had Grimbo plus 3.5 rounds, plus 110. We hit that. We had Pericic minus 135. We hit that. We had Urseg minus 175. We hit that. The one loss that we had was Johnson minus 135. Bad read on my end. He was winning until he wasn't anymore. For boxing, we had Takuma Inoue by decision minus 130. We had Inoue by decision plus 185, which was the brother. A lot of people thought he would win by knockout, but there was rhymes and reasons why I picked the decision that I ended up hitting. And then the one loss we had in boxing, we had Benavidez by decision minus 130, and he ended up winning, but he ended up winning by knockout. So overall, we had a really, really, really good week. Dayton, did your dog hit this week, or you didn't have one last week, right?
No, so I threw out that, I think it was like a Benil Dariush plus like 4 something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it didn't count on your record. That's right.
Yeah, it was like yeah.
All right, so there was no
I got one this week though.
He I know you do. And unfortunately we're against each other on it. But while you're in the backdrop over there, try to think of maybe a bet that you can do. Make things a little bit spicy. But overall, like I said, one thing I do want to go over with the spring clean, and then we're going to jump into this card. Listen, I stressed this on my live stream. I stressed this on my podcast. I stressed this in my content. Public push. Guys, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse every week with the public push. You got to remember, like, I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen people come. I've seen people go. I've seen the rotating door of content providers like this. Okay, I've seen it all. And the one thing I will tell you is that you're getting an overflux now of content providers. You're getting 100 different YouTube pages. You're getting 100. These content providers just popping up everywhere, right? They're like bodegas at this point. And what happens when you have that is you have these false narratives. You have these conspiracy theories. You have all these things that come out. And what happens is you get all these people that are following this one. And then they're like these little, it's like a little group. They all coincide with each other. They go all on each other's shows and stuff. And they come up with these narratives and they follow it and they give it to their people. Then their people give it to their people. And what happens is these people move the lines, or they keep the lines in a certain spot where they shouldn't be. So, for instance, the Urseg fight, that line dropped and everybody was all over the place. Oh my God, this is, the fix is in. Or then the narrative came out that it was undisclosed injury. Like, these guys act like they're behind the curtain and they know what's going on. It's a disclosed injury. So what did we do? That was our opportunity during the live stream to pounce on that. And we ended up pouncing on it. And we ended up getting Urseg at a really good number. Well, I wouldn't say a really good number. I'd say a fair number. And he ended up cashing where everybody else was kind of flooding the gates going on the Tim Elliott side. He was kind of the dog darling, for the public push. Then you had another one with Pericic, and he was one of the bigger bets of the night for me was Pericic. And that line started getting a little quirky and odd. And the same narrative came out. I'm telling you, there might be an undisclosed injury or something's going on or blah, blah. And you stay to the course. You take your initial read and you go with it. And more times than not, you'll see it's just uneducated public push. So if you guys have something in your pocket the whole week and you see the line movement or something doesn't look right to you, I'm not saying don't look into it, but a lot of the times it's a lot of this public push. It's a lot of these people who are just coming in. They're creating these narratives. They're spewing it out on social media. They're spewing it out on the YouTube pages. They're spewing it out on Twitter. And then all of a sudden it makes people think. They're doing side-by-side pictures of weigh-ins and the guys look exactly the same. And they're like, well, he doesn't look like this. He looked like this 2 years ago. And it's crazy town. you stick to your process and you're going to come out on top. So lesson learned. I mean, we've been doing it in my Discord and my live stream and stuff like that for a couple years now, because we've all been noticing the public push. We've all been noticing these crazy narratives, these crazy conspiracy theories, but people buy into them, and let them buy into them. Doesn't mean you have to buy into them, because what it does, it kind of adjusts the line for the sharp player. So you just got to be on the right side of it. If you guys want more of my content, especially for a card like this, UFC 328, we got major titles on the line, 2 title fights. The card is good. I would give it probably like a B+. Go to the madlabmma.com. You'll get all my wagers. You'll get all my content. You'll get Fight Brain, audio breakdowns, all the DFS, Discord, live stream before the fight. Basketball, we just hit the Derby. We had Mikey Marangelli hit the Derby, so it's all one price, bro. We don't upsell nothing. We just have a great community, you guys, band of brothers, and we have a good time. So come check us out. All right, but we're gonna jump into this card, UFC 328, which is a very stacked card. A couple of these fights actually can be a main event on another card. And we're going to get right into it. We got Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. You have Sean Strickland, a big +425 underdog, -600 for Chimaev. The over and under is +165. Under is -155. So, when I look at this fight, there's certain times where you don't bite into the public apple, right? Like we were just talking about. In a fight like this, Chimaev is getting a lot of steam as far as his persona, as far as he's from Chechnya. The wrestling is different. Obviously we saw what he did during the COVID lockdown, where this guy was fighting it felt like every week he was fighting and just running through people. So he's getting a lot of steam, and it's honestly deserved to a certain extent. I don't think it's deserved as much as it is, because if you really go back to his history and you look at some of the guys that won't allow themselves to be bullied, the guys like Gilbert Burns back in the day, or Usman, who gave him some friction and gave you something to think about. Kind of the buck stops there. You know what I mean? Even though those guys were aging and stuff, they had something within their arsenal that gave Khamzat question marks. But all in all, this guy is just something to behold. Like, his conditioning is good. He's got a very different style of wrestling, very pressure heavy. He knows what he's good at. I think at some points in time, even though his striking, I wouldn't say is horrendous, from a boxing perspective, it's horrendous. Like, if you watch it, but all these guys, there's a lot of MMA guys that have good, clean boxing for MMA, but from a boxing perspective, it's not really that technical and that good. But his striking is good. He does have power. He's a well-rounded guy. He's got conditioning. He's durable. We've seen him in a couple wars. So we had enough of a sample size in him to say, yes, like, he deserves a little bit of that public push. Very marketable just because of the kind of character that he is. He carries that like NWO type vibe to him. And then on the other side, you got Sean Strickland, who is this, America gun-toting, no filter kind of guy that is extremely well-rounded in his own right. Very good defensive grappling, very underrated grappling, underrated wrestling. Everything on the ground with him is very underrated. What makes him special, what the spotlight of him is not only is his character, because you need characters like him. I believe in this sport, and in any sport, you need that kind of character that's going to go against the grain. You never know what he's going to say. You never know what he's going to do. It's about selling fights, and Sean Strickland knows how to sell fights because he's so unpredictable. But what he does so well is he's a very clean striker. I'm not going to call him a boxer. He's a very clean striker. He's works off a really good jab. He knows how to somewhat use the Philly shell, which really, really, takes away a lot of targets. If any of you guys know about the Philly shell, it's a very, I call it like a Vaseline defense in a sense. So basically what it does is it allows you to get into a position where punches are coming at you and they may hit you, but they're sliding off and nothing's getting clean. They're catching your shoulder, they're catching your elbow. Nothing's really landing clean. So it's much like almost like a Vaseline defense. Like somebody just rubbed Vaseline on that side and the gloves are kind of just not landing clean. Everything's kind of slipping off. So although he's extremely durable, a big proponent of that is that he's got that kind of Philly shell Vaseline defense. Another thing with him that's really interesting is I want to see personally, is Chimaev going to be able to keep him on the ground? I know he's going to take him down. I mean, it's just a matter of time before he grounds this fight. what is it that going to look like? Now, Sean Strickland comes out. He says, like, I've wrestled with guys like this, all my life, and I'm ready. You can't kind of carbon copy. You can't kind of mimic this kind of pressure. You can mimic wrestlers. You can mimic guys like Usman. You can mimic guys like Kobe Covington. You can mimic traditional style wrestling. But a guy like this is a little bit hard to kind of mimic because he's one of the best, if not the best, in the UFC when it comes to like just pure, just pressure, on your hips, the strength, the power of his double legs, and just the way he has the ability to get you down, and the way he like just applies that pressure nonstop. It's very different, So mimicking him, you can mimic him to an extent, but you can't fully mimic him. So to say I've wrestled guys like this my entire career, it's kind of a false statement, So I want to see, like, is he going to be able to keep Sean Strickland down? Is Sean Strickland going to be able to handle this kind of pressure? Now, a lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to handle the pressure of Fluffy Hernandez, but I also do think that Fluffy Hernandez was getting a major public push. I like Fluffy. I think Fluffy is a fine fighter, but I also think that, for what he is, if you neutralize him, and you neutralize his wrestling, you take that part of his game away from him, he's kind of just a normal fighter. It's nothing special about his striking, nothing special about his power. There's nothing special about his footwork. He's all cardio, all pressure, all the time. And if you can't stop it, he's going to drown you. Strickland was able to stop that. Now, you can say what you want. You could say that, Fluffy wasn't himself that night or whatever you want to say. The fact of the matter is he beat him, and he beat him handedly. So when I look at this, I'm saying, is this going to be a repeat? Does he have the ability to do this again? And there's a part of me that wants to say yes. Like, I tried every rhyme and reason to pick Sean Strickland in this fight because he's the one guy in this division that I feel like if he can beat him, like, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I would say Sean Strickland would be the guy to do it because we've seen Khamzat in these waters. We've seen Khamzat where Burns wasn't allowing himself to be bullied. Usman wasn't allowing himself to be bullied. Like, we've seen these situations where, like, he won the fight, but it was a damn good fight. And he started fading a little bit down the stretch, and he started showing the little kinks in his armor and stuff like that. And Sean Strickland's a guy that if this thing goes deep, if he could weather that storm into the third and fourth and fifth round, who's to say that Strickland can't keep him on the feet and kind of bait him into this war and start chewing him up with his jab and start just putting things together and almost like death by a thousand cuts. The reason I'm going the other way, though, the reason why I'm going with Khamzat is because you need to, when you fight a guy like Khamzat, you need to throw with intent. You need warning shots. You need like something that's going to pay consequence. And I just don't think Sean Strickland throws anything of consequence. There's nothing that you really need to fear with Sean Strickland outside of volume, outside of just not being able to get inside of his jab, not being able to land on him. But as far as like consequence, like what kind of consequence does he really pose? It's not like going to take you down. You don't got to worry about him taking your back or do anything like that or pulling guard, or you don't have, he doesn't have this thumping power. Everything is kind of off sheer volume and just losing you in translation. So if that's your game plan and you got to do this for 25 minutes, I just don't see like where that's going to work against a guy like Chimaev, who eventually is going to ground the fight. He's going to have the bigger moments because Strickland has very, steady state moments. He's got that one gear where, if he outvolumes you, and there's situations where he can finish you. Absolutely. I'm not saying he's not like a finisher because he's done it before. But for the most part, he's a decision rider. He's going to outwork you. He's going to out cardio you. He's going to throw more volume. He's going to keep you at the end of his jabs. He's going to hit more than he's getting hit. And that's the way he wins his fight. But when you got a guy like Chimaev who's just going to apply that pressure, not going to be afraid of your power, he's going to bring chaos. He's going to match your conditioning, which is a weapon of Strickland. I just see it an uphill battle, and I want Strickland to win the fight. And I do think I do think that the number is a little bit lopsided, but this is a no play for me. Like, I'm not laying that kind of wood on Khamzat, and I'm not really interested in getting baited into like these big odds on Strickland, because I don't think he's going to win the fight. Like, at the end of the day, the odds can still be tempting, but if you really in your heart don't think he's going to win, why am I going to do it? You know what I mean? So for me, this is a stay away. I'm going to go Khamzat. I'm going to say either Khamzat late or Khamzat by decision. I do think Strickland can last. I do think Strickland can make it interesting. And I do think if it goes outside of the third round into the fourth and fifth round, I do think Sean Strickland will make it interesting. But I can't go against Khamzat here. So give me Chimaev here for the win. But this, I wouldn't tie this into parlays. I wouldn't do anything with it. I would just watch it as a fan. All right, then we go to the co-main event. We have another championship fight, which is, man, I don't know. You know, the thing with Josh Van, let's go just Josh Van is plus 145 and Taira is minus 165. The over is plus 120. The under is minus 155. So I got a mixed relationship with Josh Van. When Josh Van first came into the UFC, I was all over this kid on like white on rice. The kid's body work, the boxing, the way he, puts things together, the way he is a very slow starter, but the way he kind of knows when to kick it in gear. And I always said that would be a problem for him in 3-round fights. 5 rounds a little bit different, which this is obviously, because in 3-round fights, you got 15 minutes. So if you're going to take the first round off, like in essence, you either got to knock the guy out or you got to, win 2 rounds. And he's put himself in those positions so many times, and he always kind of comes out on top. And it's basically because he does put it in that next gear, and he starts going to the body, and he knows when to dig upstairs, downstairs, and come upstairs. Like, he ties his punches together so well, and he's got such a good eye for, body mechanics and how to lead you so your head's going into certain directions. And he already knows. It's almost like playing pool. When you got a guy who really knows how to box and who really knows how to use both levels, at his disposal, you start playing a game of pool within your head. You know that if you're coming, on the right side with a body shot, where his head's going to go. So automatically you're setting up that hand right behind the body shot. That's the way good strikers work. It's not just, I'm going to throw this kind of combination and bump. That's not the way it works. They play a game of pool within their mind. They know, well, if I hit him here, his head's going to go here. So automatically, as soon as I deliver that, I'm coming over the top with a left hand. Like, that's the way you set shots up. And he does it really well. He does it really, really well. When I got a bad taste in my mouth with him was in his fight against Pantoja. Now, I picked Pantoja in that fight. There's no secret there. And it was a very unfortunate what happened to Pantoja. Not his fault, not Josh Van's fault. But the way he celebrated that win, like he really did win the belt. He jumped on the cage. He was like, I'm the champion. Like, to me, that turned me off. And it turned me off a lot for the mere fact that, okay, you won the belt. I get it. You really didn't win the belt, but you got the belt. But be humble about it. For me, if that was me, I'd say, look, man, I did not want to win this belt like this. I'm taking it because this is just what this game is. This game is a cruel game at times, but this is not what I signed up for. So yeah, am I the champion? Yes, but do I consider myself really the champion? No, because I feel like I have to beat him, and I didn't get a chance to beat him. That's the answer. Not I'm the fucking champion, but that's not the way this game fucking works. You know what I mean? I mean, it's unfortunately that's the way the game is, but I don't like it. I don't know. Josh Van has really turned me off for some reason. I don't know why, but you can't say he's not good. On the other side, you got Taira, who is to me a little bit of a machine of, for himself. And both are young kids. I could see a future where these kids fight each other numerous times. The one thing I like about Taira is he's a fast starter. This kid will come out and he will look for your hips and he will look to throw hands. He will look to be in the clinch with you. He's looking for action. So someone like him who can match the energy of Van, who can match the conditioning of Van, who matches the youth and the age of Van, if he gets ahead on Van, it's going to be a lot harder for Van to catch up with a kid with this kind of skill set. Especially because Van also has to be a little bit cautious of letting his hands go too freely for Taira to take him down, where Taira can absolutely out-grapple him. Like, not even a question. Josh Van's got good takedown defense and stuff like that, but if Taira gets control of him on the ground, he's not getting up. He may last, he may have good submission defense the last round, but he's not going to be able to scramble out of that and have all this success, in scrambles with Taira. It's just not going to happen. When you look at where these guys, so in essence, we know that Taira is the guy on the ground. We know it's advantage Taira on the ground. So in essence, where does this fight take place on the feet? Who has the advantage? Well, in on the outside, I would say it's Taira. He is much more susceptible to using his legs and being the longer fighter in range. The mid-range, I would give it to Josh Van because he likes that mid-range because he could really focus on the body and coming upstairs. And then the inside, I would give it to Taira because I think Tara's better in the clinch. You know what I mean? I think he's much better in the clinch with his knees and his ability to kind of just, guide you to where he wants to guide you. So all in all, I think this is going to be the beginning of something, could be the beginning of something special with these guys. This could be hopefully not a situation where Taira takes him down and he kind of controls him on the ground. It's a boring fight. I'm hoping it's action because these two guys can see each other for years to come. And I'm hoping that's what the start of this. But I'm going Taira here. I'm gonna take Taira here to get the strap. And unfortunately for him, he's not going to get it from Pantoja, the real champion. He's going to get it from someone who, I'm not going to say paperweight champion, but somebody who really, in essence, didn't earn the belt. And I think this is a fight that if he plays his cards correctly, Josh Van's gonna have a tough time having answers for him, because I think that if he takes that mid-range away and either stays on the outside until he's ready to shoot or just commits to his grappling, I think Josh Van's gonna have an issue. Now, going further into this fight, I trust Josh Van's cardio a lot more. So I could also see a situation where Taira is in winning rounds here, going into the later rounds, going to the championship rounds now, and then Josh Van steps on that gas pedal, and all of a sudden now he's got Taira backing up, and now you're in this situation where you're like, bro, this is going to the decision. This could be a fucking split decision. I can also see something like that, but I think in the beginning, Taira is going to take the early round lead. I don't think Josh Van is going to just step on the gas in a 5-round fight. I think he needs time to cook. And I think because of the age, because of, both of these guys are very youthful. They both have good cardio. They both are still learning so much. Not that they're raw, but they still have so much room to grow. I think Josh Van's learning curve in the fight to kind of catch up to Taira is going to be a lot more difficult than it has in the past. So I'm going to take Taira here. I'm actually going to take Taira by submission. I'm going to take Taira by 4th-round submission in this fight. And no. All right, next fight we have Alexander Volkov, minus 180 plus 155 for Waldo Cortes Acotsa. This is a fight where this is either going to be the momentum of Acotsa is real, or it's just going to say that he was on a, he's good, he's gotten better, he had momentum, but the buck stops here. And Alexander Volkov's a guy that can absolutely do that. When you look at Volkov and you look at his size and you look at his range and you look at his abilities and how long he's been around and some of the guys that he's beat and some of the guys he's lost to, it doesn't matter. The level of opposition is there. I mean, just look, the skill set is there. Just watch film. And the thing that makes this difficult for me to pick Acotsa, and even though I want to, because when I first went into it, I'm like, this is a nice name to put on his record. Like, this is going to put him into real talk if he wins this fight. And I'm not saying he can't win the fight, but I'm just saying this is my approach going into it. When you look at him and you look at his style, it kind of is a style meant for Volkov. You know what I mean? He likes to throw his hands. He's not afraid to move forward. He's not afraid to get into these pissing matches with you. He's not afraid to have a points match with you. Like, he's ultimately a striker, but when you're going against a guy like Volkov, who is just so long, so rangy, knows how to really utilize his front kicks and his range and his distance. A lot of times when he throws his kicks, they're kind of range finders. You know what I mean? It's kind of like keeping you where he wants you. And once you cross that fray, he starts doing it again. He's a very well-versed striker, very well-versed. And, when you look at that path that beats Volkov, it's usually the guys that can kind of ground them. It's usually the guys that once they take a guy, that tree down, they're on top of him, they can control him. He's got decent submissions when he needs them, but as far as his wrestling ability, it's not there. But if you're telling me that you're going to give me him for 3 rounds in a striking match at this weight, at this division, there's not many guys that can blow through that. You know what I mean? So I was a little shocked in the beginning to see Acotsa the dog here. But after watching film and after going through his resume and after really putting the styles together, I understand why. So I'm going to go Alexander Volkov here by decision. I think Acotsa's live, but I think he's going to have issues crossing that fray. Now, he can mix things up and maybe, do a blast double or something like that and really try to wrestle his way to victory in a close round. You got a very close round with these two guys, and all of a sudden he lands a takedown, gets on top of him for the last minute. That's not out of the, realm of possibility either. But I think ultimately, if this thing stays on the feet for 15 minutes, which the majority fight I think it does, I find it an issue for Acotsa finding his way in. You got to remember when you're kind of that guy who's got to kind of come under the middle, you got to kind of come underneath. You got to find your way in, and finding your way in means you're running uphill while Volkov's going to be running downhill. Now you can figure him out, but you got to kind of figure him out quick. So give me Volkov here. I'm going to go Volkov by decision. All right, we move over to the welterweight division. We have Sean Brady minus 160, Joaquin Buckley plus 140. I don't like this price tag. I'm not crazy about this price tag, if I'm being honest. I think this fight is a little bit closer than projected. I do believe that Sean Brady should be the favorite here. But, you know, when I look at Joaquin Buckley, and I say this all the time when I talk about his fights, this is a guy who's super athletic and super explosive. That's what kind of got him through the onset when he came into the UFC, because he really didn't have that much when he came in. He was very explosive. He was very, you know, dynamic. He had big power. And that's really where it's rested with him. And when you're fighting at a level that he was fighting at, when they're kind of giving you guys that are very beatable, you get by with this stuff like that. You can absolutely get by athletic ability. You can absolutely get by with power. Gaudier's doing it right now. You get by with power and stuff like that. But eventually what happens is you're going to start fighting these guys that you need a little bit more than that. You know, you need a little bit more than that. And he, to my surprise, really his trajectory went up. His skill set got better every fight. His striking got better. His decision-making got better. His wrestling got better. His cardio got better. You know, his punch selection got better. Like Joaquin Buckley got a lot better since if you watch the fights that he was just winning on raw athleticism and explosion to now it looks like he's got a blueprint. Where in the beginning, when he first came in, there wasn't really a blueprint. It was just go in there and do what you do. Almost like a Melvin Guillard. I hate to say it, but I always bring his name up too. Melvin Guillard, a guy who's super, super athletic, didn't really have a great skill set, but he would win on explosion, speed, and power. Kind of the way Buckley was winning. But now Buckley's kind of a well-rounded, good contending fighter. The problem is I don't think this is a good style for him. I don't. I think as good as an athlete as he is, as slippery as that will make you, as powerful as the power that he does have, I do think he's the better striker. I obviously think he's the more powerful puncher. I think Sean Brady's ability to grapple is going to be a problem for him. I do think Brady's going to be strong enough to kind of lock him down a little bit and drag this to the ground. I do think if he does get it there, I think it's going to be a big problem for Buckley. I think maybe in the beginning he's going to be able to get up. But once this fight starts cooking, I think Brady's going to be able to ground the fight. If he doesn't, Joaquin, this is a live bet on Buckley. I mean, if Brady's shooting and can't take it to the ground, and he's just having problems finding him and finding his hips, it just doesn't look like he's fast enough or athletic enough, because that honestly, I mean, I could see Joaquin Buckley too having this really good lateral movement, moving well, you know, sprawling out of takedowns and stuff like that. And all of a sudden now you're like, all right, this is going to be a striking match. That does not fare well for Brady. But if Brady locks him down early, if he gets on his hips early, even if he doesn't really successfully take him down, but if you just see if his entries are getting there, eventually he's going to get him. But then when he gets him, he's going to have a rough time down there. So I think Buckley's live. I think this could be a situation where Brady's actually winning the moments, winning the minutes, I should say, and Buckley can explode into a moment and knock Brady out. Would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form. But I am going to take Sean Brady here. I'm actually going to say Sean Brady by second round submission. I'll go on the limb and say that. All right, and then the first fight on the main card is Bobby Green versus Jeremy Stephens. You got King Green minus 325. You got Jeremy Stephens plus 275. The over and under minus 150. The over. The under is plus 130. Look, man, I'm going Jeremy Stephens here, and I'm going to tell you why. And I was honestly going back and forth with this before the show. I was like, I'm going to be on King Green. I was like, you know what? I'm going to let it resonate, and then I'm just going to call my shot when I come on the show. Listen, what's not to like about Bobby Green, right? The guy's got really good fluid movement. The guy is fun. He's going to talk trash in there. But he does do some things that I don't like. Obviously, if there's a really close round, he could be yapping a little bit too much. But all in all, the guy, even though he has aged and he has been knocked out and his chin can be susceptible now at times, he's still very hard to hit. Very hard to hit. His counter wrestling is good. If he really wants to wrestle, he has the ability to do so. Obviously, we know his striking is good. It's very fluid. He's very hard to find. But this is the problem. You can't have your hands down with someone like Jeremy Stephens. You just cannot. For you new guys that don't know who Jeremy Stephens is, and this is a guy who I'm not going to say he was ever going to be a champion or he's ever going to be this guy who was going to be like a top 3 guy but one thing about this guy is this dude can box and this dude can crack. And the last thing to go on you is your power. That's the last thing to go. So is he a good athlete? No, I mean, listen, all these guys are good athletes, right? But is he a good athlete to the point where he's going to have all this crazy movement and he's going to be able to match, Bobby Green? No, he's not. It's just not. Does he have the hand speed of Bobby Green? No. Is he tricky? No. Is he awkward or unorthodox? No, he's none of those things. But when you have a traditional style striking and you just stay the course, eventually something opens up. And the one thing about King Green, I'm going to keep calling him Bobby Green. I can't stand calling him fucking King Green. Bobby Green he really is not a power puncher. Like, he's not a guy who, like, you need to really fear his power. Does he get knockouts? Yes. Can he finish you? Yes. Has he shown the ability as of late to pack a little bit more power? Yeah. All those things are true. But at the end of the day, Jeremy Stephens will kind of enter that fray with a little less fear than a lot of these guys. This dude has been in there. I mean, he's been bare knuckle. The guy's been doing bare knuckle now. Like, this guy is not going to be afraid to just walk into the fire and throw hands and see if he can land something on you. And he's going to have 15 minutes to do it. So when you got a guy who you don't really have to worry about, maybe Bobby Green does try to wrestle a little bit, but if this is a 15-minute traditional style Bobby Green fight where his hands are down and he's throwing jabs and he's moving around and doing all that, Jeremy Stephens is going to walk him down, and he's going to walk him down, and he may fail miserably for 15 minutes or 14 minutes and with 10 seconds left in the way. But the fact of the matter is there's going to be a moment where he's going to be able to capitalize and catch him. And it's just going to be up to him to do it at the right time. It's going to be up to him to find the right window and jump through it. But the windows are going to be there. Like, his hands are going to be down. He's going to give you opportunities across that fray. And this is the perfect situation where I could see Bobby Green kind of showcasing on Jeremy Stephens until he gets caught. So, listen, I'm going Jeremy Stephens here. This is a guy who obviously left the UFC. He went into bare knuckle. He's coming back with a really good opportunity here against a very beatable guy on a main card. Like, this is Hunger Games for him, in this fight. And I think that he's going to really come in motivated. I think he's going to come in, he's going to throw some heavy leather. And I think eventually, if you give this guy a 15-minute window, he's going to find the spot. So give me Jeremy Stephens by knockout. I'm not going to pick around. I'm just going to Jeremy Stephens by knockout. All right. Without further ado, we're going to bring in our boy Dayton. And he wants to climb back into the ring or the cage, I should say, with a pick. So what do you got there?
All right. We're going to go Josh Van plus 145. And I hear you might not like that.
I don't like that. But hey, listen. So what do you want to do? What do you want to bet? You want to bet something or what?
Well, see, I couldn't come up with something, but then I thought a good way to let the viewers maybe decide, and then put something in the comments, and then the top, like the best comment, that's what we'll go with next video.
All right. So this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do. I think we should do 2 things. We should do. Whoever loses, you guys post in the comments what we should do. Make it reasonable. I mean, don't tell me to go take a shit in my hand and eat it or anything like that. Like, make it reasonable. Make it something reasonable that we can do on here and we can have a little fun with. And then what I think we should do is I think we should do this next week, starting next week. We should post the dumbest comment in the thread and talk about it on the following week.
Yeah, let's do it.
You know what I mean? Like, because we've been getting the majority, I'd say 99% of the people, awesome content. I mean, they're giving great analysis. I actually read every one of them. Guy comes in, he does these little threads of like how he thinks fights are going to go. I think that's great. But then once in a while, you'll get like a guy in there who almost like he's best friends with the fighter, and he gives all this analysis like, I'm not watching no more because you said this one's going to win. Meanwhile, we won. And I think we should showcase that. They're looking for flowers, so let's give them flowers. So we'll do two things next week. We're gonna take your bet that you want. We'll say that you're the one. We'll post that you're the one who made us do it, and then we'll give a bad take of the week. We'll always do a bad take of the week, and that's it. So if you guys want the rest of my comment, come to the madlabmma.com. The fantasy league will be. Oh, look at that! That looks good. Thank you, brother. The fantasy league is almost over. The second fantasy league is almost over. So the new one will be starting up. And obviously, if you're a member, you're in. But come check us out, hang out with us. We're hanging out all night. People are in there right now doing basketball and whatever else they're doing. But other than that, I will see you next week. Make some money. Let's make some money. Let's have a good weekend.